Hi again, this is Nova with Blissfully Unbothered. I am in my mid 50s, 56 to be exact. I have just gone through a pretty big transition in my life, a recent divorce. Had a year full of a lot of emotional heartbreak and changes. And now I'm focused on spiritual growth, and on this path to become blissfully unbothered by this earth walk that we're all on. One of the things that I am going to focus in on is trying to maintain the weight loss that occurred pretty directly related to the heartbreak that I suffered. As a background, as an adult, I've always been obese. I've always been above 200 pounds as an adult. And I would say that I started to become chubby somewhere in my preteens. Reflecting back, I realize now that I definitely used food as a crutch many times, as an emotional support, and not always as a bad thing. If I was emotionally upset, I ate to soothe myself. If I was happy, I ate to celebrate. Food just became like definitely like a partner in my emotions. And that's something that I'm aware of, like upon reflecting on that after years. And so in my adult years, I wasn't overly obsessed about my weight or weight loss as a younger adult. I was actually, I felt okay about myself. But as the years passed and in my 30s and my 40s, the thing that I started to find was that my baseline weight that I used to be comfortable with was just steadily increasing. So whereas maybe I was 210 at one point, then I was more like 220s, then I was more like 230s. And before I knew it, somewhere around the time that the pandemic started, my baseline was all of a sudden like 250. And I would do many different diets. I even like joined things like Weight Watchers, and I joined Overeaters Anonymous. I tried paleo, I tried keto, I tried intermittent fasting, I tried to be vegan, very, very short time. I am, my base food diet is pescatarian. That's been for some years. But, I've tried pretty significant restriction of calories, different things. And I would have results from different things that I tried. I would have results. My issue was consistency. So anyways, around this time of the pandemic, I started to realize that these sort of like stretch exercise type yoga type pants were just getting tighter and tighter, and they can be pretty delusional. Like these wearing these kind of yoga type pants, because you can wear the same size pants even though the amount of pounds that you are can vary quite a bit, because sometimes they fit and they're a little loose, and then sometimes they're fit and they're very snug. And I just got to this point where I realized, okay, yeah, like 2X stretch pants are super snug, the seams are crying, and I'm going to have to break my rule, because one of my rules was I'm not going to be a victim of the scale. I'm not going to let a scale and numbers dictate how I feel about myself. So I, for a long time, just wouldn't even put a scale in my house. And as an overall healthy person who didn't have to take meds, you have these yearly appointments, or not even every year, with your checkups. I didn't know how much I weighed. So I finally got on a scale, and I was shocked to see the number 281. That was my highest weight. And I was just shocked. I just had no idea because I was like, here I am, like squeezing into the same old clothes, even my work clothes, and not realizing, wow, like you really gained a lot of weight. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh my gosh, you were huge because of that number, but it was a huge change. And it was gradual, and I wasn't accepting it or taking accountability for how I obviously was having a lot more intake of food, maybe less activity. And then also, like, as the years change, your metabolism changes, but lots of things going into it. But if you ignore it, how can you possibly work on it or do anything about it? So, anyways, at that point, I did contact my health provider, and I got involved with their program for like healthy weight, and essentially just kind of worked with a nutritionist and tried to be more accountable by checking in with them, kind of starting to do like these weekly weights. I just do my weight once a week on a Monday, and I still don't allow that to dictate how I feel about myself. I use it as information. It kind of gives me information for what I'm doing, if it's working towards my goal, if it's not, doesn't seem to be working towards my goal, and then I can like adjust myself accordingly to try to see how it works out. So I did that for a year, and I got back to like the 250s with activity, walking, trying to do some exercise routines. I liked hit videos because with like 20-minute intermittently intense exercise, and then calming it down, and then intense and calming it down, I noticed that, you know, through wearing my watch, I could see the effects of that, like that my heart rate and how much calories you would burn. So I liked hit videos, but ultimately all of the repetition of lifting knees and trying to do squats and that sort of thing, my knees didn't love that. So I had to mix that up with like just some good walks and that sort of thing. So over a year, I managed to get about 30 pounds back off, but I got to this plateau of about 250s, and that seemed to be almost like my baseline. And my primary doctor actually, she kept saying, you know, I'm not worried about the weight, the number, I'm worried about your health. And when we would check my labs and everything, and my blood pressure, everything was okay. So she's like, listen, this just might be your baseline, and this is okay. The weight program, they had a different philosophy, and they were just saying that hormonally, sometimes your body just gets to a point where you get to a plateau or a certain baseline that you need extra assistance to kind of trick your body hormonally into getting past that plateau. And so they suggested oral medication, which initially I didn't want to try, but I tried it a little bit, and then I didn't like it. I just didn't like the way it made me feel, so I didn't do that. And then upon talking with them further, back in 2022, I underwent a gastric sleeve. And I would say, and that was pretty significant decision, but I thought if I'm putting all this effort into trying to get my body to a healthier weight and a healthier place, but I'm literally seem to be hitting a wall, maybe this is the answer. Maybe this is the tool. And it's pretty drastic to say, okay, yeah, I want somebody to go into my abdomen, cut my stomach into a small portion so that I just can't eat a certain amount of food, and maybe that'll be the key tool to help me get past this plateau. But I went ahead and did it, and I would say before the surgery, I lost a little more, like just in the prep for surgery. I think I was down to about 240 or so before the surgery. And then the lowest weight that I achieved after the surgery was right around 203. And I remember feeling so happy about it because I was sort of like, wow, am I really going to join the under 200 club finally as an adult? I'm going to get under 200. And it took like a year or so for me to get there. And then it was strange. I literally almost feel like I self sabotage because all of a sudden, and it wasn't, I wouldn't say so sudden, I did notice that my appetite was starting to come back. And because the surgery also kind of changes your appetite a little bit, or just having decreased intake, your appetite diminishes. And towards that time that I was at that 203, my appetite was starting to increase, but I was still in control. Somewhere around celebrating that I might actually get in the under 200 club, I started to eat more, not more in portion size, but more frequently throughout the day. And before I knew it, my weight creeped back up to about 220s, like somewhere around 220. So I'm realizing that, a lot of it really does have to do with like hormonal imbalance. It's been found that people who are obese, some of our hormones just don't function in the same way as others. And if your hormones, hormones are telling you that your body needs more food or it needs more nutrition, despite the fact that it might need more nutrition, but it doesn't need more food intake. Sometimes that's a trigger, as well as the emotional attachments to food that you still might have. So I even tried, my doctor even allowed me to try Ozempic as an adjunct to the weight loss surgery, because what Ozempic and those GLP-1 meds do is they mimic the hormones that make your body feel satiated and tells your body that it's full. And that is the reason that people are having success with those medications, is because it quite literally mimics the hormones that should be telling your body that you're full, that for some people those hormones don't function appropriately. That's what that drug does. And it did work to a certain degree. Even though I was a person that the minimal doses didn't work at all, but when I was titrated up to the highest dose, the 2 milligrams a week, it did work, and my appetite was suppressed, and I did start to lose a little weight again. And then that's around the time, but it was still minimal. It wasn't like some of these other people who lost 50 pounds. I got back to maybe like 210. And I was okay with that. And I was still really contemplating, do I even want to be on a medication every day? And then the decision was taken out of my hands because my insurance company stopped covering it for weight loss anyway. So there I was again on my own, trying to figure out, okay, how do I continue to manage this? And then that's when the heartbreaking phone call where I found out about the infidelity, and then I didn't need any GLP-1s, because Lord knows I suddenly could not eat. For the first time in my life, I literally could not eat. And so for this past year, well, say over 7-8 months, I lost like 75 pounds, and the lowest weight that I've ever been in my adult life, and even in my high school life, I got down to 154. I think I even got down to 151 at one point. And like I said, I still only do a weekly weigh-in, and I wasn't being crazy about this or anything. But now that I'm adjusting to this new life, now that I am moving past some of the raw pain that I suffered, what I am noticing is my appetite's coming back. And even my attraction to sweets and all that is coming back. And when I say sweets, I'm not going crazy. I'm not like eating a whole jar of Haagen-Dazs or anything like that. But I'm talking like even like a non-GMO, all natural ingredient granola. I might be picking better options, but I might get through a bag of granola in a day if I don't watch myself because I'm snacking more. That's what I'm noticing. I'm not necessarily eating huge portions, but I'm eating more times throughout the day. So the appetite is coming back, and now I'm at a place where I want to focus in on this hidden blessing of finally obtaining this weight loss that I've been kind of working on and fighting for like almost my adult, my whole adult life. And even though it came about through a painful process, I'm super grateful for it. And I don't want to I don't want to see myself backtrack and gain a lot of weight back. So my last weight was 172. So in about the last 2 months, I've gained about 12 or 13. Yeah, I don't know, almost 16 pounds, almost 20. Let's just say I gained almost 20 pounds back. Sorry, my math's not mathing right now. And I am determined that that's going to be a huge part of my transition, is to gain some consistency in my diet and exercise routine to take care of my body better. And again, it's not just about the numbers, but it's like I felt better, I looked better, and I'm not going to give that up and fall back into an old trap of being attached to food in the wrong way as I used to be. And so that's going to be one of my missions on this channel, actually, and that's going to be one of my ways of keeping myself accountable. Exercise routine, diet, our hormones are different for us in our 50s. And like I was saying, I can't do these high intense exercise routines on a regular basis because my knees don't like it. So I've got to alternate. I've got to challenge myself in other ways. And so I'm going to build myself a program that I'm going to share on this channel. And I hope that maybe there's some other people who are going through spiritual enlightenment, but also like just transition in life in general. And hopefully some people might want to join along, and we can be each other's accountability partners. We could be fabulous in our 50s despite divorces or whatever kind of transition or change you're going through. It might be a huge job change. Might be a move. But whatever these challenges might be, we can vibe up and bliss up and get ourselves to a place of true happiness as we continue to navigate this earth walk that we're on. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And some of the ideas that I have are what I'm going to be calling bliss ups, which are just these moments that we take throughout our day to either spiritually, mentally check in with ourselves, or even physically just kind of do some things for our bodies in just throughout the day. If we don't have time to have like isolated, dedicated exercise time, we could do like these moments where we take 2 minutes in the bathroom and we do some leg lifts, or we walk outside of our jobs and we take 5 minutes to just deep breathe. But just these moments throughout the day to just help ourselves. And I got some other things in mind that I actually, honestly, I practice for myself, but I'm just going to kind of like formally organize them to be a part of this mission that I feel compelled to do on this channel. And I'm just hoping some people might vibe with it, join along with me. If this is something that you might be interested in, keep a watch out. I'm going to start building on this. I'm going to start being accountable to myself, and then hopefully to others that kind of joined along with me. Yeah, let's bliss up, people. Let's bliss up. Let's vibe up. Let's do this. We could do this. We could be our best selves. Whew. I can feel it. I can feel it. All right. Peace to you until the next time. Join me. Subscribe. Put a thumbs up. Put a comment. Let's work together. Let's do this. Peace.